Hello and welcome. My name is Meepolis, they, she, he, and this is Literally Graphic. And today we are looking at Thirsty Mermaids by Kat Leyh, a graphic novel published by Gallery 13, a subsidiary of Simon & Schuster in 2021. As some of you may recall, I read my first Kat Leyh book last year, Snapdragon, and loved it. I was so excited to pick up this second volume, and I was not disappointed. More adult, I would describe this book as queer and beachy urban fantasy. Content notes for shirtlessness across genders, lots of alcohol, depression, and drowning. There is a bit of violence in the book, not the focus of the story at all. There's a couple fistfights. Also, discussion of taking teeth from sharks. Based out of Chicago, Leyh is also the co-writer on Lumberjanes. She apparently also writes the queer superhero webcomic Super Cakes. I'll definitely be checking that out. What kinds of keywords came to mind reading this book? Mermaids, obviously, body art, vibrant colors, fish out of water, community, couch surfing, found family, diving, treasure, and magic. In the synopsis is, quote, fresh out of shipwreck wine, 3 tipsy mermaids, Pearl, Tooth, and Ease, hit on the idea of magically masquerading as humans and sneaking onto land to indulge in much more drinking and a whole lot of fun right in the heart of a local seaside tourist trap. But the good times abruptly end the next morning when, through the haze of killer hangovers, the trio realizes they never actually learned how to break the spell and are now stuck on land for the foreseeable future, which means everything from enlisting the aid of their I know we just met, but we can crash with you bartender friend, struggling to make sense of the human world around them, to even trying to get jobs with 0 skill sets, all while attempting to somehow return to the sea and making the most of their current situation with tenacity and camaraderie, especially if someone else is buying. End quote. I am undoubtedly biased, but I found this book to be beautiful and extremely well paced. The dialogue was amusing and the story flew by. Each character was extremely distinct, and the page layouts were varied but easy to follow. I would say that the story was not trying to be the most original thing ever, but was a skillful remixing and reimagining of urban fantasy with a great found family and body positive twist. Speaking of which, it was interesting to look back and think about how the queer sexuality in this book operated in a similar way as heterosexual sexuality generally appears in mainstream stories. It's not really central to the plot, but there is a lot of cues and a few queer couples filling out the cast. Gender was somewhat similar. There's a diversity of kinds of women and a brief dialogue where someone emphasizes a non-binary character's they/them pronouns. It isn't central to the story, and there's only that one instance that gets anywhere close to explaining gender diversity, but there is an undercurrent that felt very F the gender binary. The amount of desexualized toplessness probably helped on both counts. Found family is probably the kind of relationship structure that the story is most interested in exploring. The main characters are a pod, excluded by their peers who are literal fish out of water. Once they find some support on dry land, there's discussion of boundaries and cooperation, supporting and depending on each other and their newfound community as they figure out a way to find a new balance. Race is not really a focus of the story, but it is not totally whitewashed either. Thirsty Mermaids is populated by characters of every shape, size, and racial background. Ability and disability did not come up in an obvious way, and I don't think that the pickle that our main cast find themselves in is like a metaphor or allegory or anything. There is some temporary depression, but more interestingly, our main mermaid pod was formed out of a shared exclusion from, quote, normal mermaid society, with 2 of them having not enough magic and 1 of them having far too much magic. It's nothing really, but I found it an interesting plot point, whatever it stands for. Class was nicely represented in the book. Much like Snapdragon, this book is very pro-poor people. Money and the fact that the mermaids had no concept of it before finding themselves stranded on land is a necessity that is also really stupid and funny. I could really vibe with that. Bye y'all, keep reading and organize to end capitalist oppression. And as always, Literally Graphic is created on land that should be given back to the traditional landholders, which in this case is, to my knowledge, the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation, non-Anishinaabe people, the Haudenosaunee Confederacy, and the Huron-Wendat Nation.